Maybe we're going to finally do our Star Wars.
Are we going to do the Star Wars show?
Yeah, why not?
I think we should.
Well, this is Doomsday Doo-Doo.
Oh, yeah. That's
Sorry.
right. Sorry, yeah.
Well, you did the 3-2 and you pointed at me and I got excited.
Every time, too. This is the second time I got it right today.
Yeah, you did. Because I always say 1 and that's wrong. And you nailed it 2 times in a row.
I nailed it 2 times. I watched Wayne's World to get that down.
Oh, really?
Don't you remember that part of Wayne's World?
No.
Yeah.
Why? What happened?
Because they're like kind of public access TV. So it's kind of like 3-2. And I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I can remember that.
Maybe he does the countdown, but is there a bit surrounding the countdown?
There's a bit because he's doing it wrong, I think.
Because
I want to remember that, yeah.
Oh. Because that happened to me in real life.
Oh, okay. So you're like, okay, you're the stereotype. That's why it's true.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah.
All right, so we're going to do the Star Wars show.
Yeah, we're going to do the Star Wars show after we did a 2-hour role-playing show. So
2 hours and 15 minutes.
2 hours and 15 minutes of role-playing and logistics and paperwork.
And we're drinking coffee.
And now we're 2 old men in the bunker. Because I have to have a cup of coffee after I watch. So I can't even make it up to watch my programs,
You
Nick.
watch your programs.
I don't make it to see my stories. I like to watch my stories at night. I have to have a cup of coffee.
And watch Falcon Crest. All right, so we're going to.
I love my Magnum PI.
We're going to. I guess. So I'm not going to talk about anything else.
Well, I mean, I think we could peripherally talk, but I think we need to lead in. The bulk of it should be we've teased around our Star Wars, and we talked about the first show being the original trilogy.
So I shouldn't tell you how I was drugged in Manhattan.
You were drugged in Manhattan?
Yeah.
Voluntarily or
At
against your will?
After a wild game dinner.
Oh, wait.
Wild game. Any of that story?
I think we maybe say. I think that could be a whole story. I think we should save that for another episode.
I think.
Are we going to cover it adequately? I don't want to gloss over anything.
I'm going to say 70% sure that I was drugged.
Okay.
Can you show me on some weird guy?
Can you show me on the doll where the man touched you?
No, it wasn't. They touched me.
Not that you remember.
Wait, well, that's the
They're
thing.
psychotropic, so you wouldn't.
That's the thing is I don't remember.
That would be the Bill Cosby angle, right? Those girls didn't remember. They were like, I had this weird ass dream. I had this great meal at Bill's house. I passed out. I had the craziest dream that somebody was touching me with Jello pudding pops. I don't know what the fuck was going on.
Yeah, no. Well, that's why I think I was drugged is because, the people I was with, one of the people I was with my friend Lou, there was 4 of us, and I think myself and my other friend were both drugged. But
did they just drug the hot ones?
No,
okay.
no. The round of drinks came to the table, and we are the only 2 who touched them, and we're the only 2 who blacked out.
Where did the drinks
There's
come
a whole
from,
story
though?
before it, though.
Okay, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think
this whole story makes me feel like there was somebody who would want to have drugged us.
Okay. Well, so
someone who looked like the type of person who would drug you.
Oh.
And then I blacked out, but I was somehow functional. Like I woke up I only had 3 hours sleep that night. And I woke up, imagine drinking so much that you black out.
Mm-hmm.
And then get 3 hours sleep. How would you feel the next day?
Shitty?
Yeah, I mean, but I just felt a little tired.
So you're saying you had some real deep sleep?
Well,
like in the 3 hours it was concentrated?
Well, not only that, but the only time, I've only blacked out one other time in my life.
Yeah.
And I woke up in the middle of the night in a pool of my own vomit. And this is college, and just feeling like there were 2 knives on the inside of my head. That's what I felt.
You're saying you didn't feel like
and
you were hungover enough.
That was even pre-hungover. I was still a little drunk at that point. Yeah. Like that's how much drinking lets you black out. This, I woke up and I don't want to say I felt fine. You don't feel fine in 3 hours sleep after doing some drinking. But it really strange. Unless age changes how you handle it, which I'm sure it does. But I think I was.
Would you say you drank a quantity enough to be blackout?
No way.
So then you were drugged, yeah.
No way. And I had a big meal in the middle of it.
Yeah. Could it have just been a really
tons of like meat?
Could it have just been a really satisfying meal that you were just so content?
Well, that was my other theory. Is that the only thing that made me survive that night was all the wild game meat in my belly. I said gullet.
Gullet?
Yeah, it's not a bird, right?
Oh, gullet.
I'm gonna eat ostrich. I eat Florida gator.
See, I think if you go to a party where they're serving that kind of shit, I think you're inviting yourself to be drugged and potentially.
That wasn't where I was drugged.
Oh,
I was drugged where we went after.
Oh boy. Where did you go after? Gay bar?
No.
Where did you go?
Should I say? I mean, it's not. I'm not. You know, I was at the Carlisle Hotel in Manhattan.
Okay.
In the bar. There's a bar down there.
I would think that places where you were most likely to get drugged, my guesses would be L.A., Manhattan, just because per capita the number of people, you have enough people, like you said, who would just be entertained to just randomly drug somebody, or not randomly, but. I don't know. I feel like we should do a whole episode on this because we could talk about this for an hour just myself.
I could go on an hour about how the guy was dressed.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Yeah.
Was your butt sore when you woke up?
No.
Okay, good.
No, but I have wounds all over my body. I do. I can show you pictures.
So I'm weirded out that you took pictures of the wounds.
Well, because I took pictures of the wounds.
Did you do a rape kit, or what did you do?
No,
you're doing a rape kit too. Have your wife taking pictures of you in front of a mirror, like.
I was walking to the bathroom in like my boxer shorts, after being supposedly quote unquote blackout drunk, but yet somehow being okay at 8:00 in the morning, just strolling through in my boxers, and Lisa goes, "What happened to your legs?" And so she had to take a picture of the back of my legs. So she had to take a picture of it to show it to me. Yeah. Both legs. And then up here on the top, and then a little bit over here, I got.
So you could have just as easily fallen too, though.
No, I know how I got bruised.
Okay. Well, so
I fell from somewhere.
Okay.
Which I was fully aware. I fell from somewhere that before going up there, pretty much said, I know I'm going to fall when I go up here. And then me and my friend were laughing at how I was going to fall later. And then I climbed. This is what I mean. How do I remember that? And then I climbed up. I made it fine. I fell. The only reason I fell in my sleep. I got drugged.
Okay.
I think that's my thing. So you want to go into Star Wars?
I think
is that a good segue?
I don't know. Not really, but yeah, I don't know where to go. You kind of brought the whole show to a screeching fucking halt.
I'm sorry.
I was at a wild. There's so many. I'm really, just so you know, I'm restraining myself from asking any questions because we'll end up down that road.
Yeah.
Because I have a bunch of questions, a ton of questions about what you're talking about. So
yeah, it was really, really strange. All right, so I guess we'll talk about it some other time.
Yeah.
So Star Wars.
Yeah. What a segue. So I tried to go with the.
Did you time the
I
trench
did.
run?
I have notes.
Did you time the asteroid thing?
I did. Yeah.
Oh shit! You did.
I did my homework, man. I have notes.
I did. Okay, I did zero homework.
I watched all 3 movies with the boys.
I couldn't watch any movies,
and I watched the new. So just so you know, before we even get started, so I got Disney Plus.
Right.
So I watched all the original trilogy.
Are you a stockholder?
Not really. Well, I bought
full
it.
Disclosure.
I bought it for
full disclosure.
3 years. I bought it.
You bought it 3 years ago,
but I don't own stock in Disney.
No stock. Yeah, okay.
No. So no, I don't think I could afford it. It's probably ridiculous. I don't even know. But I watched all of the new Disney 4K transfers, including the new edit of A New Hope. Have you heard about this?
There's another edit?
Dude, they're fucking with these movies again. So they did 4K transfers.
Okay.
For the online platform, which is kind of cool because
which is nice. It'll be archived. So many great films are like lost to time,
and they look great. I mean, A New Hope looks great. I mean, I don't remember ever seeing like the walls of like Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen's house, is like this stucco material. I don't ever remember seeing the texture of it, like the way that I was seeing it. And I have a 4K TV in the playroom. It's the only one we have. So I have a 4K source now and a 4K TV, and it looks unbelievable. Looks unbelievable.
That's pretty cool.
All 3 of the movies look great. But there's I don't know the full story. But let's just say the scene with Greedo has been modified again. Again. And then it's really weird. And I don't know if Lucas is involved or not. George Lucas, not my son.
Well, he
Lucas.
shouldn't be involved. It's not his anymore.
He's involved in The Mandalorian, just so you know. He's linked to The Mandalorian.
What is he, story consultant?
He's more of a consultant, but he's friends with Dave Filoni, who's kind of with Favreau, or like the producers and the creators of it. So Filoni is kind of like the heir apparent to he's always been close to George, and he's always been like George was always kind of feeding him information and teaching him the ways of things. So he probably is the next closest source to George Lucas as you're going to get. He did all the Clone Wars stuff, and it's pretty solid on canon and stuff. And he's good. I mean, he really does. He's a fan. We always had that argument. Do you have to be a fan to love what you're writing about? He's that guy who I think is the exception, where he's a huge fan, and he also is a massive creative force within the world. So, but yeah, back to what we said. Somebody, for some reason, they fucked with the Greedo scene again. So let's go back to the original Greedo scene. Because you and I saw it as kids,
right,
in 1976,
right,
and you saw it in the movie theater.
Right.
I saw it in the movie theater. I watched it a million times. I wish I had those VHS tapes still, because I want to show my kids the original cut, because I told them the story.
I might have the original cut.
And the original cut is Han shoots first, right? Mm-hmm. And the point of the Greedo scene was they couldn't do the Jabba scene that they wanted to do. So they put the Greedo scene in there as exposition to why Han was being hunted, and
you know, I don't think I'm going to be honest. I don't think I've ever seen the Jabba the Hutt scene.
So they put it in when they were able to. So I saw the original removed scene with the fat guy. There's a fat guy who's standing in for Jabba the Hutt.
What?
They originally shot a scene where Jabba the Hutt was just a fat guy, and then George said, "No, he should be a big fat slug. It would be great."
Right.
But they clearly didn't have the technology to do it.
Yes.
And one of the things that I noticed in rewatching it that's amazing about that first movie is it's all practical effects. And then anything
it's all
else,
hand painted.
It's all models. It's puppets. Like, and the boys notice it too. And it has a whole different look to it. But it all still it holds up pretty well because it's practical. Yeah.
Right.
And you're like, wow, it looks really great still. Even the aliens, like I saw a shot of the cantina that isn't darkened, where they darkened it, and you can see the aliens in the light, you know? Mm-hmm. It looks bad, but you make it a little darker, and the scene, it makes it a little more mysterious. Can't quite make out what that looks like, and you can hide the mask stuff, and it works. But so the Greedo scene is Han shoots first, right? Why don't you give me the money, and then I'll forget that I saw you. I won't tell Jabba that I saw you. Oh, well, yeah, okay. Well, over my dead body, okay. That's shoots him, right? Mm-hmm. So then George Lucas.
It's a slow calculating thing. He's dragging his finger on the back wall every time he's unsnapping his holster.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, that scene is one of the scenes that grabbed me. Han Solo is the most interesting character in Star Wars, A New Hope. He's the most interesting character. He's the most complex character. His motivations are questionable from beginning to end.
Definitely.
And he's also a big reason why.
Is he I have to give that some thought, but you might be right.
Chewie is steady. Obi-Wan, you know what he's about. Luke is the wide-eyed
Obi-Wan is the most mysterious character.
He's mysterious.
He's the mentor.
But you know his motivations are honorable and good, right? Han's moral compass is Chewie, right? Chewie's the one who's like, you know for a fact that when they left, and now I'll get into that, and I figured out, I really thought hard about what my problem is and why I like A New Hope less. It made me think about really think about it, not just go, because of this, right? Because Empire's more like real life. Okay, it ends on a down note. Everybody says that shit, right? But why else do I find that I'm turned off by the last third of A New Hope? The trench run scene.
I didn't know you were turned off.
I know. The first 2/3 of the movie are fantastic, and I love it. And then that starts happening, and I love those kinds of movies. I love Tora. I love all those. It's a military. It turns into this military operation thing. And when I go through the timeline of the whole thing, you're going to laugh at how I did it. And it's funny, but we'll get to that. But anyways, back to Han. He's probably the most interesting character because he's comes across as being about him. And it's all about, he's out for himself. Clearly he comes back to help. You know that probably Chewie was a big part of that. You don't really get that yet, but we think now, knowing Chewie. Chewie's like, come on, dude. You're going to leave the fucking kid like that? Come on, dude. You're better than that, Han.
Well, he's the character. He's the character with probably the most internal conflict.
And he's also the character
which is what makes him the most interesting. Everyone else is driving in one direction. Yeah. And he is going in a direction which he's struggling with.
Yes. And he's a complicated character because he's not so easy. That I've always identified with him, and I've liked that. He was the first edgy character they had. Before Wolverine, it was Han Solo, which was this guy who's kind of out for himself. And you know what? Everything doesn't. I also like it too because I thought about it like this. Han Solo on his adventures in the Death Star when they split up, nothing really quite goes right for him, but yet it all seems to fall in place. I feel like that's all of our role-playing stuff with Gloom and Michu, right? It's like we're kind of fumbling our way through it, and it kind of tends to work out.
Yeah,
right?
It works out
regardless, like scoundrel's luck or whatever it is. I kind of like that. But back to the Greedo scene. So George reshoots it when they went to this whole, after they did the first 3 movies and they had all that technology that he created. And that was one of the amazing things that he did was he created all that shit that they did in the first 3 movies. It was never done before.
Right.
That third movie that was almost all done on green screen was never conceived, right?
Yeah, who would have thought to even try something like that?
They don't even have a real fucking set. It's just green blocks, and it looked great. And he fell in love with the technology, and that's the problem, right? He fell in love with his creation.
Yeah.
Fuck it, I want to make everything. Let me fill some things in. And some of the things he did were really great, and some of them were just bad. But he made this decision that morally I can't have Han Solo shoot first. So he went in and made that edit where Greedo not only shoots...
Did he really?
He did, dude. He went in and made an edit.
No, I know he made the edit, but was that really his reason?
I don't know if there was an interview or what, but it was the scene was modified by George, so it must have been part of his vision. I know,
prior to what?
Well, it was around the same time that Spielberg went back to E.T. and took the guns out and put walkie-talkies in. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was this whole, let's be revisionary. Our heroes can't be thought of that way, right? He couldn't have shot first. Even though it was in self-defense, the guy had a gun on him the whole fucking time. He deserved to get shot.
Right.
He was going to kill him. It was plain. But no, I got to make it more plain. I want to over-explain this. So they do this thing where Greedo, he dubs in Greedo shooting first.
I don't even think that...
But then...
I don't think that there had to be any morality in Han Solo at that point.
I think that's the great point. So the edit kind of takes it back more towards a neutral ground, as I'll explain it. But
because the first time I watched Star Wars,
and
I'm sure the first time you watched it too. I don't know. Tell me if I'm on the mark here. Something that our kids will never experience, and I don't. That's a whole other subject. And maybe they're not supposed to experience it. They're supposed to experience their own things.
Yep.
But when I watched that movie the first time as a kid, I did not like Han Solo.
Yeah.
I did not trust Han Solo. I thought they were nuts for going with Han Solo. He just murdered somebody in the thing. He was lying. He was just lying through his teeth. He just murdered somebody in a bar.
Yeah.
And then they were going with him, and you're feeling like, I don't know if you were feeling like this, but I was feeling like, wow, are they going to trust this guy? They're going to go with this guy? What's going to happen when they're with this guy? I mean, I'm sure there's other people that, people are after him too. They just made this situation. They're trying to get somewhere, but now this guy's got problems, and you were worried about all this stuff.
It made you worry, and I think if that movie was made 30 years later, I think Han Solo does turn on him. I think he does. If it's made in the 90s, they're like, fucking Han Solo turns on him.
Yeah.
And they kind of retcon that because they go back and they go, you know why Han Solo wouldn't do it? And they do the Solo movie and they go, because this guy Beckett, who was kind of his mentor, turned on him. And
right.
But when you watch it, you too realize it. They go away and he goes to Chewie. He goes, God, this crazy old man and this kid, they're willing to pay that much money. They must really be fucking desperate. This is going to help us out of a jam, buddy. This is good for us. So they do paint the picture of, it is up on Front Street that he's desperate and he's painted into a corner and he's playing it cooler than he is, which I always thought that was cool too.
Right. And I mean, he's also that he's a criminal and that he's wanted by somebody who he's worried about. Maybe
he's
a little bit.
He's the most interesting person. He's the most interesting character in that fucking movie.
And then, but after some time, you start to, in the middle, you maybe start to get a little bit of see little bits of him that maybe there's something there, but you still don't really believe it. That when I was a kid, I really remember this. When he comes in at the end, it's a fucking shock.
No, it is a shock, yeah.
It's a fucking shock. It's like he's dead. He's about to get shot by Darth. And then when Darth Vader gets shot and spun off, and it's like, how the fuck that happened? And then when you see it's him, you're like, what the fuck?
It was awesome, yeah.
And he was like, take the shot, whatever the hell he says. And
Yahoo
you're
kid.
Like, Yahoo kid. And you fucking... You're like blown away. Like, oh, I can't believe that he just fucking did that. Whereas now you realize he's one of them the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's
it's a big edit.
No, it is. And so,
and it's, and I'll be honest with you. It's a cowardly edit.
What, to put him in at the end to save the day?
No.
Oh, the Greedo.
Going back and changing that scene.
No, I think touching it once
is
you've done
cowardly in a way. Definitely cowardly. And it's yeah, I don't want to say it shouldn't be allowed. It's his artwork and he's allowed to do whatever he wants to do. But Picasso never went back to one of his paintings and said, I should have put a line here and put a fucking line on it. He's like, it's you made something, not like Lucas is Picasso, but you make something and you put it out and you call it complete. Then to say, maybe,
I don't know
how many 20 years later and saying, you know what, maybe it's not complete. And then to change it seems disingenuous.
I think if you're changing something that changes something significantly like that, I think it matters. I think the little things that they did to say, you know what, you want to go back into Empire and you want to dub, since Boba Fett is a clone of Jango Fett, and you want to dub the voice of Jango Fett in, and that doesn't bother me. That doesn't bother me. Adding the no when Darth Vader screams no when he throws the Emperor down the hole, which is the same no that he says in Revenge of the Jedi.
Not cool.
Or Revenge of the Sith doesn't bother me. But when you change something wholly, like you said, I'm going to be when you're being revisionist and going back. You know what? Now that I think about it, I shouldn't do that. It's too bad. It's like writing a book, publishing it, and printing it, and then going back and going, you know what? I rewrote 3 fucking chapters of the book.
Yeah, imagine you went.
It's kind of dishonest.
Imagine you went and got like the Beatles' White Album, and then they changed a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, no, you can't.
Like,
you can't. Well, but we modified.
You can have a Beatles White Album live.
We changed
or the acoustic version.
We changed 3 minutes of Revolver to be something different.
Yeah, changed it. We you know what? We changed these 3 chords, or we did it. You would feel like, well, you kind of feel when you're sitting through something, you feel like this is something that's pure, that's come out of this person. If that comes out, and then that comes out, and that's what it is, what it is, then to go back into after the fact and after you've released it and play with it in that way, I feel like you're.
It seems a little bit like cheating. Like you had your shot to do it the first time.
No, and it's not that
you did a good job. Why are you fucking with it?
The other thing is, like, the second version could even be better, let's say, but that's kind of not the point. It's how it came out is how it came out when it came out, and it like, I don't want to say for a reason, but because that's what he thought was ready to be put out there as the finished product. Yeah. You can't decide that something isn't finished like 20 or 30 years later, or maybe you can. I mean, again, if it's your thing, it's your thing. But movies is the only place that happens. Yeah,
and it's pretty common. And,
I mean,
and technology gives us that too, right?
Right. A book will say, all right, well, here's a second or third edition because there were these typos and there was this other stuff. And I added a preface and I added a foreword or something like that, just to better explain something. But no one, the Holden Caulfield kills himself at the end, right?
Yes.
All right, so like you say, like if he said, all right, well, in the 4th edition, he doesn't kill himself.
No, he's actually
you would
just
like,
he's in a coma for 17 years and he wakes up.
He's not the catcher in the Rye anymore. Who's the catcher then?
I think here's a problem, Nick. It's technology, it's DVDs, it's all these bonus scenes that they feel like they have to throw out there. That and then also he'll tell you, George would say, well, they made me. So here's a question: how long do you think Star Wars is? What's the running time, if you had to guess, of Star Wars: A New Hope?
Jeez.
And that's from, crawl to credits, the end of credits. So
the end of credits?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there's the credits are extensive.
The credits are extensive. Yeah. That makes it tricky.
Yeah.
But because I was going to say the screenplay is probably, I would say, close to the 90 page. It was like he did that whole movie was really just standard. Yeah. Except for the special effects, it was a standard Hollywood movie. It was, so I'm going to say it had to be close to 90 pages to make it about 90 minutes. But then you have that long intro, and then you have a long amount of credits, twice as long as the intro, probably.
Yeah.
It's got to be 20 minutes of credits. So that would be 110 minutes, 115 minutes, 115 minutes.
So just shy of 2 hours.
Yeah, 115 minutes.
2 hours and 4 minutes.
Okay. So I was off by 9 minutes.
So of the 3 movies of the original trilogy, because we're only talking about original trilogy for this podcast, guys. We're going to do a separate one for each of the trilogies and talk through them. We are, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, because to be honest with you, the prequel trilogies I have the most to say about the prequel trilogies.
I have a lot to say about the prequel trilogies too, and you know, I'm withholding everything until I see this movie.
Okay.
Just in case that this was the plan all along, but that still makes me dislike the first two, if that's what it is, and for the same reason why I don't like Empire.
Because you say Empire is not a complete movie.
If Empire and Return of the Jedi could have been one movie.
You know, though, that A New Hope starts with a crawl that explains A New Hope is the story of the Rebel Alliance's second great victory over the Empire. It's not even the story of their first great victory over the Empire.
Right.
Because their first great victory over the Empire is Rogue One, technically. That was their first victory over the Empire. Because it says galactic battles raging, the rebels off of their first victory over the Empire, Princess Leia is running away, and it talks about it. But this is the story of their second victory.
Yeah, but victory meaning not victory in war, victory in battle.
Second battle, yes.
So they've been fighting and losing, and then they just finally got a break.
These are the first two wins. But our story opens with the story of the second greatest win, and it opens with a cold open where Leia is running with plans. You don't know who got them. And the story is equally as incomplete because it is. Other than the ending being complete that they destroy the Death Star. Boom. And the movie's over. Your point is that Empire and Return should be one movie because Han gets captured, and then you don't get the resolution of that until the first arc of the third movie,
right,
where they go to Tatooine,
right.
But I think,
and even that's assuming that that's what that movie was about Han Solo being captured, which could be made. The argument could be made because a lot of the movie stuck with them.
So this goes back to my big difference, though.
And if you're a Han Solo fan, maybe that's why you like, because there's a lot of Han Solo.
And that's what it is. And it's more Han Solo. Luke is, I like Luke. He was never a character I identified with. Mm-hmm. When I played out on the playground, I never played as Luke. I didn't understand where he was coming from. The small town farm boy with dreams and aspirations and all those things. And to be honest with you, he's kind of boring and lame.
Oh boy.
He's kind of boring and lame in the movie. Uh-huh. Even when he's a Jedi in Return of the Jedi, there's not a lot of substance. And he's trying to be cool with Han when they're on the skiff and Han is blind and he goes, well, I think my eyes are getting better. Instead of seeing a big dark blur, I see a big bright blur. Luke turns to him and goes, well, I was born here. It's not much to see. And Han should turn and go, yeah, motherfucker, I met you here. I'm a space captain and I've been all over the fucking universe. I've had all kinds of fucking alien trim all over the fucking place.
Right.
And you're not going to teach me shit, farm boy. You've been sitting in a cave with a green monkey learning how to balance on your fucking arms.
I think that's what makes Luke interesting, though, is that he's nobody. Right. And that's why you identify with him. I identify with him. And I think a lot of people identify with him because a lot of people sometimes, you're sitting in life and you realize you're just another like cog in a wheel. You're just, you get up, you go to work, or you get up, you go to school. At the time, it was like school and homework and, whatever, playing and having a good time with your friends. Exactly. Definitely. But, now as I watch it as an adult, I definitely like A New Hope more as I got older, for sure. And because of this reason, because you look at it and go, oh, well, here's somebody who just wants to be someone, who wants to have some sort of purpose. And it's something that I think as humans, we all feel.
No, I think we do. And I think we move past it quickly.
Right.
Like you feel it when you're very young.
Right. Well, no.
And kind of wide-eyed. But that window is, I don't know, for me was maybe because I joined the Navy and I was seeing the world and that window closed very quickly, not because I was so fucking worldly, but because you have all these experiences now.
Yeah.
Instead of dreaming about things, you're doing things.
Yeah, but I think that it wasn't just that he wanted to fight for the rebellion and he wanted to do all these things and he wanted to see the galaxy and all this stuff. I think that the point more, the way I took it anyway, and I think it's reinforced if you watch it. I know you watched it, but if you watch it with this in mind, that he wants those things because he wants beyond experience. He wants purpose. He's and also you have to remember he's a kid in that movie. All right. So you said you felt that as a kid. So he was a kid. And which is what made his, all right. What is the difference between Luke Skywalker and Harry Potter? Harry Potter is a kid under a cupboard in a house with people who don't like him. All right, so his aunt and uncle liked him, but his parents abandoned him. He's on in the middle of the desert. He's a fucking complete nobody. What does he do? He tries to get water out of sand. He's trying to get water out of rocks, this kid. And he's realizing, and he's stuck on this rock that's not just one son, he's got fucking two sons beating on his fucking back of his neck. And, and Harry Potter, no one gives a shit that it's his birthday. So it's like the same thing. And then one guy finds out he's a wizard and the other guy becomes a Jedi. And they both,
You got to finish Harry Potter though.
But I have to finish Harry Potter.
You do understand, because I can't explain to you.
I'm talking about the first book.
But
no, I also have to finish Star Wars.
The journey this is true. And the journey is the same. But Luke Skywalker's purpose and what Harry Potter are two completely different things. Yes. Harry Potter is the chosen one. He is the boy who lived. He's the only only person who's ever survived the Avada Kedavra curse, right. The most deadly curse in the world. He's the only person from the most evil and powerful wizard in the world as a child survived it.
Right.
And there's so much more to that.
Right.
You need to finish that before I can even start. I can't say any more than that.
Don't ruin that. Don't ruin the last
few
books.
I won't.
I'm walking through them slowly with Nicholas. So I'm actually reading the second book for a second time.
Okay.
So this is what's going on.
So, but Luke Skywalker's purpose, his purpose, his role is to be the catalyst for change of Anakin Skywalker, who is the real main character of all of these movies.
That happened later, though.
But
when we're talking about, I'm not disagreeing with you about the movie, Star Wars actually being about Anakin. I'm 100% agreement.
Yeah.
But if we're just talking original trilogy, then and specifically the main thing that we I think do disagree on is New Hope versus Empire Strikes Back, is that what we're talking about, that arc, that Harry Potter arc, let's say just the Sorcerer's Stone, first book, okay, and the first movie of Star Wars. Very similar.
Yep.
Okay. Nobody to somebody to saving, the world, so to speak. Right. Both of them. And that's it's a feel good coming of age thing, because it's like, here's someone who thought they were nobody, and it turns out that not everybody's nobody, and that there's maybe it gives you these delusions, maybe there's greatness in all of us. There's like a lot of different things that you get out of the movie, but it's the point of it, really, essentially.
No, I mean, I always thought Jedis were cool. He was the coolest Jedi that we got to see. He was cooler than Obi-Wan. Yoda was not. Yoda was cool and wise, but not. You never saw Yoda fight. The fight in the Empire on Bespin is an amazing fight, visually amazing, and from a content perspective, it's
You're talking about Vader and
Luke when he's trying to freeze him and the whole thing,
right?
And even in Empire, right? That's cool. But I never I don't know. I never wanted to be like, I want to be Luke Skywalker. I was always like, I want to be the wisecracking.
You didn't want a lightsaber?
I wanted a lightsaber, but I just didn't.
You wanted to be Han Solo with a lightsaber.
I wanted to be I wanted to be the wisecracking smuggler who fucked with people and did stupid things and still got by and was questionable in his character because he had more moral flexibility. And Luke just seemed to be like this kid, and then all of a sudden now he's a monk, and now he serves his purpose, which is to turn his father back to the light side and help Anakin, who is the chosen one, fulfill his prophecy, right, in destroying the Emperor. Right. That's the book, which PS is the bookend part of the prophecy.
Supposedly, destroy the Emperor,
and we'll talk about that in the first, yeah, and supposedly because we don't know what
we don't know. We're seeing trailers that have them about.
There's even stuff in The Mandalorian that is hinting towards what might be going on in this movie, but we're not sure. So I'll let you watch that too. But then after that, it's like Luke's training is never really completed. He's kind of like, what does he do next? Because he's completed what his main purpose was, which was to bring about the retribution of Anakin Skywalker and the destruction of the Emperor and thus the Empire. And then now what?
Well, you kind of took it as, I took it as that was his training.
Yeah. But he was never formally trained.
He doesn't become, Yoda supposedly. and Obi-Wan.
But even when we went back to Dagobah in Return of the Jedi, there was no training. It was just Leia's your sister, and that was the gist of him going back to Dagobah.
Yeah, but I guess maybe it's insinuated that there was more.
I mean, I guess, but who the fuck trained him? He got trained by.
I mean, how did he show up in Return? How did he show up in Jedi like in just all black? Like you don't think that any time passed of preparation there?
No, there would have been.
I mean, clearly when he shows up on Return of the Jedi,
no, he's a badass. Yeah,
he's a different person. No, so you assume that somebody needed to take place took place to an extent, but he still wasn't a Jedi until he crossed that threshold and allowed his father to get to where he had to be and to fulfill his own destiny and to do something that had to that point never been done before. As far as I know, within the canon, where someone just goes from light to dark to back to light on the Force. So I mean, Han Solo was definitely a more interesting character, but
yeah. So and that's my problem, and I realized that when I was watching it is they get ready to start the trench run, and Han is basically the Millennium Falcon is warm up. He's got his shit packed up. He's like, I've got to get out of here, kid. Luke's like, you're a fucking pussy. Go ahead and run, pussy. I don't give a fuck. You run. You're a coward.
It's all about you anyway.
Yeah, it's you anyways. And then there's 6 minutes of canopies closing, which I didn't even count as a part of the trench run of people putting helmets on.
You counted
it's 6 fucking minutes of canopies closing and people flipping switches and helmets going on. And I'm like, holy shit. And the minute Han Solo leaves, my attention goes, and also the idea that in New Hope, it's very linear, right? There's no jumping around between groups. Like in the other movies, the groups are split. So the action in the peaks of the movies are Lando's blowing up the Death Star, and the pace of the movie flows better.
Faster.
I'm interested in Han Solo. I'm interested in Mos Eisley. We get all the Death Star stuff. You get all that cool shit on the Death Star. Han runs down the fucking hallway with 1 million stormtroopers. All great. And then he leaves, and I go, oh, fuck. And now I'm stuck with this. Now I'm in a military fucking procedural drama of trench runs and whatever. So do you want to get to the
No, wait.
You don't want to go.
Wait, I have to first just stop you right there.
Okay.
That the reason for that, maybe he overdid that scene. I don't remember it being 6 minutes, but I'll tell you when I watched it. You gotta try. You're looking at it with today's in your own current eyes.
No, you're right.
After seeing it 100 times,
but
if you watched it with fresh eyes and you remember how when you were first watching that movie, that 6 minutes was intense. It was intense.
I get that they're building the tension. You get the misses,
right?
You get the.
It's no different than watching Rocky train for 10 minutes, or watching Rambo sharpen his knife and tighten his headband.
You're right, and
it's like oh shit, this is it. They have to, and they're all scrambling into their jets, and people are saying goodbye to each other, and people are stabbing each other in the back and leaving, and all this stuff is going on, and you feel it. To me, it felt intense, which also is the reason for the length of the trench run. Is because you can't build.
Yeah, you don't want it to be and then it's over. Yeah.
I mean,
I get that. I get all that, and you're right to a degree. I've seen it 1,000,000 times, but the thing that they figured out, and we were having a conversation on Saturday about seasons of a show. And you were sitting with Sean, and I said, well, I usually wait till season 2 because that's when things don't get crazy. You're like, that's fucking crazy.
It is crazy.
But when you talk about the pace of a book, exposition of a character takes even longer than that, right?
Can we pause this for a second? Because
we may need to do new batteries.
I'm struggling. Okay, so, what's going to happen to the file?
We may have to stop it and then restart it and have
Jesus Christ. All right, well, this episode's gone. See you guys.
No, we're not.
I just got to go to the bathroom.
Okay, we're going to stop it, and you got new batteries up there?
Yeah, remind me about the book thing, because I have something very specific that I was actually struggling in the car with this whole week. I was thinking about.
Okay.
Now, is it running?
It's running, and it's recording.
Well, the other times you did 3, 2, and then you pointed.
Yeah, I know.
And I was impressed. This time you went 3. And then you stop.
I didn't say 2 at all.
You didn't say 2 at all.
Anyway. I got to get better at this.
I'm sorry. I had to go to the bathroom.
So Nick had to go to the bathroom. We reloaded the batteries, and we verified that everything else we just talked about for the past 3 hours was actually recorded, which is nice. Started happening.
It's nice for a change.
Yes. So, but you were talking about the book, and I was talking about the pacing of the movie because a book can take its time to do the exposition longer. You really get into the characters, and they can be really drawn out. In many cases, it is, right? TV shows, when you have an episodic thing where you're seeing it every week, it's the same kind of exposition. But with a movie, you need to get it down to 2 hours.
No, but we were talking about. No,
I mean, you only have 2 hours to get to know the characters.
The best movie you've seen ever, you said, is Avengers Endgame. It was almost 3 hours, a 3-hour movie, wasn't it?
But that was even...
The Irishman that everyone's raving about is 3 hours and 15 minutes.
But I didn't know he was raving about that one, but I'll check it out. But Endgame, think about the exposition of Endgame was 26 other fucking movies, though.
Right, so it was even longer then.
You technically, yes.
Right.
But that was another thing that made it great, was that they kind of took their time to evolve these characters, to change them and bring them back and change them.
Which brings us back to the conversation what you were saying about the TV show and spending 2 seasons to determine if you like a show.
No, I didn't say to determine if I like the show. If
it was worth it. I said, you said you're going to keep watching Watchmen.
I said,
I'm going to give it 3 episodes. I said, I think that's fair.
And
3 episodes.
If you 6.
And then you said she'd give it 6.
Yeah.
And then I said 6. That's crazy. And I was talking with Sean. Sean's like, that's 6 hours of your life. Like after 3 episodes, I'm going to get to my hypocrisy in a second too.
Okay.
Is that, how can you do that? Like spend 6 hours of your life into something that after 3 hours you didn't like? It's throwing good money after bad. It's like, it didn't make sense. And then you had said, that have times have gone as far as 2 seasons. I was like, 2 seasons? That's crazy. Whatever. I just felt that way. But then today, this whole week, you brought up books.
Yep.
So now, I think that 6 hours is crazy, right? Giving 6 episodes is crazy, but yet I've sat through books where it's way more than that. Mm-hmm. Way more than that. So remember I was reading Alan Moore? I was telling you Jerusalem?
Yep.
Okay. And how beautiful it was, but how different it was, and how, I don't know, it seemed to be about a town. It's about hundreds of people. It was like, it wasn't really going really anywhere, but it was beautiful and interesting to read or listen to. I'm listening to it, and there was parts where you felt like where it was exposed to you that there's something weird going on. But other than that, I mean, it was like part 3. So now think of Audible when you're downloading a book and the size of it. Now imagine a book that is so large that it's not one download.
Yep.
Okay, so maybe you've seen a couple of books like that.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's 1, 2 downloads, 3 downloads. His is 6, I think, or 7 downloads. Okay, so 7 parts. Okay, and I sat through the first part, and it opens cool, obviously. I mean, and the second part. The whole second part is just people and places and just and again, beautiful to listen to, great writing, but nothing.
Where is it going? There's no point to it. Yeah.
And then but I refused to stop listening to it, and I've been struggling all week. Why I've refused to stop listening to it? I've gone to it, and then I listening to 2 other books I listened to in the time span of me trying to get through Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like in part 3, I started last week, and it's becoming amazing. It's becoming all these people I'm starting to see in this one little story that's taking place, a story within a million stories that's taking place in part 3 of following these group of kids. And as you're following these group of kids, every person you've met this far who's spanned 200, 300 years of history of this small English town. So you've read 200-300 years of a small English town's history. Mm-hmm. That's the first 2 parts. And the third part, this group of kids all of a sudden starts to show you why all these people are important. Mm-hmm. And it's a wild story so far. And I'm like, I'm glad that I didn't give up on it, right? But then I was thinking to myself, and immediately I thought of you. As soon as I realized I did that, I thought of you that 6, then what the hell is 6 hours? Why don't I give 6 hours?
Well, you know what? My thought is this. How many times do you sit down and I wanted to ask you about this, because here's what I don't do. And my dad did it, and it's funny because he's learned. It's interesting that I've taught my father things about, because he was like, he'll get done mowing the lawn and he'll just flick through the channels and watch nothing for an hour. and watch nothing that you want to watch, or you're just watching what's on instead of going, I'm going to watch this because I want to watch this. I'm going to just flick, or watch some bullshit mystery singer fucking show or whatever. It goes nowhere. I mean, it entertains your brain because you can turn it off and there's nothing to it, as opposed to going, I'm not wasting 6 hours. I'm going to watch this show that I'm interested in for some reason.
Right.
And the thing I said too was, I said, it's interesting, but most shows don't hit their stride until the second season. And that was the term that I meant. They don't become great until you really go, here's the characters. Okay, now you know what we're going to do? We're going to fuck all that shit up. We're going to turn all that on its end and flip it around. And then, you know what? In the third act of this thing, we're going to bring everybody back to where they were before, because we've torn them down. And now they're a new character, reborn, because they've been put through all this shit, right? But I don't sit and flick the channels. I watch the things that I want to watch.
Right.
And that's what I do with my time. How do I watch these movies? You know what? I'm always doing something else. So I have the movie on. I'm doing other things while I'm watching it too.
Right.
You know? If it's not interesting, it doesn't have my full attention. I'm reading, I'm playing a game, whatever.
Yeah. So, but the answer was able to get for myself, because I had to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I realized I do that with certain TV shows or movies. I will sit through stuff that, and so I think it came down to, well, I was asking myself, Nick, why did you listen to, like, I don't know, 20 something hours, is almost as long as this episode.
Yeah.
Of ancient history about a tiny town in England. And even though parts of it, like, you had to stop it all these times and just, like, then come back, like, well, you're pushing through it, you're sludging through this thing, right? Why are you doing this? And the answer, I think, is that it was Alan Moore. It was that I knew, a part of me knew that what I was going through was for a reason. And I put my trust in him that it was going to be for a reason, so that I knew going in, because I'm a fan of his, and because I'm a fan of his work, and because I feel like I know him because I know how he writes and I know his stories. I felt that I can completely trust my time and this effort in him, because he was going to make it pay off. Mm-hmm. And I was right. He didn't make it pay off. So when it came to Watchmen, what's his name?
Damon Lindelof.
Right. Now, Lost, right?
Yep.
Right. Okay. I don't trust him.
Okay.
I don't trust him. I don't trust him the way I trust Alan Moore. I trusted him in Lost, and I feel like he let me down big time. And I think he did some other show. And he
did The Leftovers, which was very interesting show.
It wasn't Lost, but I remember everything, like, it felt like his show was, his purpose was just to make you ask the question, what's going to happen next? Oh, wow. What's going to happen next?
He's definitely the king of drawing.
What's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? But what you didn't realize is that at the end is that he had no idea where it was going.
Well,
and he was just pulling you along on this ride.
I think he likes to take his time, and I think he likes to leave cliffhangers and drag things out, and he's very good with episodic things like that. Now, Let me ask you about Watchmen.
And that's what Watchmen...
have you got? How many episodes did you watch of Watchmen? Did you finish 3?
2.
Okay.
I got 2. So 2 is a little more interesting than 1.
3 is better. 3 is better than 2, and 4 is better than 3.
Yeah.
4 is the episode when things start to really be like, okay, this is what's going on, and things start to make much more sense.
Okay. Because, all right.
And we're talking about Watchmen now. In the Star
Wars
show.
My problem is that the person that I'm following, I don't know. I'm going to be, I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but it's just, I don't know why.
You don't like Sister Night?
At all.
So what if I
told now you... I'm watching this movie and I'm searching for somebody, watching the show, and I'm searching for somebody that I like.
Yes. No, you're right.
And that I could root for. And there's nobody I like in season 1. And I thought maybe I would like Ozymandias. And now I'm realized I can't like him either. Because even though he was pretty evil in Watchmen, the real Watchmen, when at the end you kind of understood him a little bit. Now I'm even if you didn't agree with him, but it's weird because you didn't agree with just about anybody. in Watchmen. You kind of was almost like a mixture of
his
everybody.
motives for what he did in Watchmen were morally sound. How he did it was not
right
by creating the big lie, right?
Right.
But why he did it was for the right reasons, which is we're going to destroy ourselves, right? That was the whole point of the 80s and nuclear war and the Cold War with Russia, and we're going to destroy all this shit that we took all this time to make.
Right.
So I'm smarter. I'm more elevated. I'm obviously a very arrogant character, but I know some better than you. I'm going to take care of this, and you're not going to have to worry your pretty little head about the truth. Dude, they get into all of that. And what's going on with him now is not at all what you think, but makes total sense if you understood where things left off. And also, let me tell you that Sister Knight isn't. What if I told you she's not the main character of the show?
Well, I don't even
because you feel like that in episode 1 and 2, but in episode 3, it's somebody completely different, and it's somebody from the original Watchmen that becomes the main point of view character in that. And then 4, it's a different character, but it gives you a perspective. So he's building layers. It's not unlike, I'm not comparing him to Alan Moore, but it's not unlike building these layers of saying, you start up in the open, like nobody wants to feel like, what the fuck is going on? I feel like I should know what's happening.
Right.
But why should you have the upper hand? When I knew what was going to happen in Game of Thrones, I felt like I was better than everybody else. You know what? Fuck you guys. We're level setting it, and I'm going to expose these layers as I want to, so that you start to open your eyes and go, this is how this fits into it. Why the fuck are we in Oklahoma? Oh, okay.
Right.
And he does some of that. Is it genius? I tell you, the episode 4, I was like, holy fuck, dude, I'm into this show now. And I'm not like heavily into it, but it's starting to draw me in, and it's slow in a measured way, and I'm like, kind of, that's nice. It's like fucking foreplay,
but
dude.
It's hard.
Don't just
it's
put
hard.
your
No,
fucking dick in. You want to foreplay. You blow in their ear. You tickle their nipple. You spit on your hand. Whatever the fuck.
It's not when you don't like anybody.
No, you're right, and I feel the same
I've
way
never
too.
read anything like I dredged.
You need a relatable character.
I dredged through Alan Moore for 200 and something pages. It had to be. Right before I started getting to see why I'm even learning about these people. But there were some people that you didn't like or whatever, but you identified really with every character, right? I didn't. They were always like they were from page 1. There were people to root for.
Yeah,
and there were people to like, and there were people that were interesting, and there were people that you understood, and there were people that were in predicaments that you felt sorry for, and there were people like there were all these things, but there wasn't like, here's this person who's doing something shitty for this person who's doing something shitty, and this guy, he's doing something shitty, and this, you think this guy's shitty, you see how shitty this guy is, and it's been that way for two full episodes.
But when you meet a person for the first time,
and wait, can I say one other thing? I know this is the Star Wars episode, but and it's like so on the fucking nose. Like when they're doing white supremacy, the guy is like such a caricature of a white supremacist that it's comical. It's like really a trailer park. Really,
what if it was intentionally on the nose in that way?
All right. Well,
what if it was meant to be obvious to hide something completely different, that you were like, we're going to be obvious, and then we're going to pull a rope-a-dope on you? But look, I don't disagree. And here's what I'll say about,
fall for it. Let's go round up the people. Let's go round up the suspects, and they go hit a trailer park.
Here's what I go into with this thing is, I have watched a ton of movies and a ton of TV, and I stopped watching regular TV because I know what an episode is going to be, and I know who the person is going to be. If it's SVU, I'll walk through the room and go, that's the killer, and I watch 2 seconds of the episode because it's fucking predictable, and that's why I hate it. Right. So I've kind of become this way with movies. Is I go in like a vessel, and you can fill me however you want to fill me. That sounds bad. Fill me like a vessel, but I'm like open mind and open perspective, and entertain my mind with things that aren't predictable. And as long as it's not like too dishonest, like I said, things we agree on. The Last Jedi, there were things that they did with some of these characters that's cheating. They cheated. Right. But you want to get to episode 4. Episode 3 is going to draw you in because there's a character that's in episode 3 who becomes a major character who is from the original Watchmen. And then episode 4, and it's also heavy with original Watchmen stuff in 3. It's meant to pull those people in more. It's almost like they're fucking with you. But it's like people that you relate to, when you meet a person for the first time and you read them and you take a gauge on them, you know what? you may think one thing, but the more you draw out of them, the more they give you, things change. In a book, when you have a character, sometimes I've made my mind up about that character, and then they give me a little fact, and I go, oh, that's interesting. And you literally on the page can see the writer building this stuff and building this character and fleshing him out. And all of a sudden, he's playing with it in front of you, not unlike what Alan Moore did, right? He built this whole history and this whole narrative. And whether he had all the ties done already or whether he was weaving it through and going, these are all interesting points. These are all interesting points. I'm going to bring it to this point now, right? And then poof, give it to you, right? It's like a maestro in a fucking concert, right? Building things to the fucking third act of the concert where he's crescendo, right? Not again, everybody's like that,
right? But when you're going through and when you're going through those initial stages where you're getting just like a lot of exposition and you're getting a lot of, I don't know, it's not just exposition, but you're waiting for the story to take hold. You're waiting to find that somebody to root for. You go through, you put up with more based on who you're watching or who you're reading, I guess is what I'm saying. It's who you trust to take you there.
Right.
Neil Gaiman will take me there. Neil Stephenson will take me there. Alan Moore will take me there.
But you at some point, though, had to give those guys a chance.
Right.
Everyone you have to give.
But now this guy I've given a chance to. I've watched every episode of Lost, and I was just thoroughly disappointed.
You know what? I believe everybody is continuously developing their craft, and I don't mind what Lindelof did with Lost. I'm not crazy about the way that it ended, but few shows or movies ever end to a full satisfactory conclusion.
Well, I said I'm watching Watchmen. I'm watching.
No, I know. I think if you watch 3 and 4, you'll start to get it, because I think, you know, it's easy to think it's simply a white supremacist story and it's a race thing. And you're right. They bury that in the first 2 episodes, and you feel like, I felt the same way. I'm like, look, honestly, I get it, and it's a terrible thing. I don't know if it's something I want to sit through. Is this grinding racial?
I was hoping that would have been that would have really been bad, and I felt like that it couldn't be.
Yeah. And it turns quick. Like I said, episode 3 goes very quickly.
At the end of 2, at the end of the second episode, you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But
yeah. So
that bothered me a little bit too, because I thought that I don't know if that was a line he would cross, but I don't know what's going on there, so I don't know. And I have to pee again.
You have to pee. It's all the coffee. It's a diuretic.
I'm drinking too much coffee. And Greedo, we have to get back to the edit.
We have to get back to Greedo. All right. So
why don't you just explain the edit? Well, no, I won't be here.
All right. So I will explain. Well, I can't explain the edit to you, to them.
I didn't see the second edit. I don't know what it is.
You never saw the third edit. So as we were explaining while Nick is peeing, the original scene as it was shot, dear listeners, and I'm sure many of you already know, but I'm just filling, was the idea that Han is sitting in the booth after he meets with Obi-Wan and Luke, and they offer him this ridiculous amount of money to take them to Alderaan, right? And Greedo slides into the booth, and he's talking to, Han about the bounty that's on his head and the money that he owes Jabba. And, hey, if you give me the money, then I'll forget that I found you, and you can run away, And Greedo is kind of a scumbag, I guess a bounty hunter. But he works for Jabba directly. But he's dirty, he's slimy, and we get that idea. And Han is obviously at a disadvantage because he's got the draw on him. And this idea that back in the day, Han, used that cut down heavy blaster that he has, and he pretty much, he blasts Greedo through the wall and throws a couple of credits to the bartender and apologizes, and goes about his way without nary a thought. We don't ever sit and think about Greedo again. He's basically a fucking grease stain on a wall after the blaster, blasted him. But for whatever reason, George Lucas, the creator, went back and felt like he needed to impose some kind of sense of morality to the scene to justify this idea that Han shot first, which it's a whole movement, right? The Han shot first movement. And probably most of the people listening to this who are not like uber Star Wars nerds like me would think that that's not a big deal, right? Oh, Han shot for that big fucking deal. But I think at the time it was a big deal. It wasn't something that your heroes did. It was probably a lot edgier. I wouldn't say there's a lot of edgy stuff in the 70s, but it was edgier than most things. This idea in this serial filled with very clear good guys and very clear bad guys that Solo would shoot first, but we were okay with it. But Lucas went back and imposed his morality on an edit that not only had Greedo shooting first, but had Han making this unnatural physical move to dodge the bolt. You remember seeing that when Greedo shoots and he dodges, like digitally, Harrison Ford's head moves like 3 feet in a weird direction to dodge the bolt that Greedo shoots first, which looks bad. It's at a weird angle. And the whole thing looks shitty. The second edit. So now the third edit.
You didn't tell everybody. I think as I was walking up the stairs, did you explain the original scene?
Well, I was filling.
You know what? At first, they're going through, he's not telling them the original scene. Everybody knows the original scene. Why would he be telling them that?
Everybody knows.
But you may be right. There might be people that don't know what the original looks like because it's been so long since it's been out there.
I mentioned the Han shot first thing, which was like an internet thing. Han shot first, and there were T-shirts. Han shot first, and it became a thing. But most people probably didn't even realize it was a thing because it's like big fucking deal. He shot the guy first. Who cares? Move on. Like a lot of people didn't get boiled down in it. So the second edit was Lucas, and like we said, this was when Steven Spielberg went back, changed ET because FBI agents don't use guns. They had all these weird walkie-talkies in their hands. South Park made fun of it at the time. And that was the big thing. Let's change what we did. We don't want kids being chased by people with guns. I'm like, believe me, in the 80s and 90s, I saw worse. Kids were cursing in the Bad News Bears, smoking and drinking.
They're smoking and drinking.
It was unbelievable. And I'm like, I'm showing this to my kids, and I'm like, don't smoke and drink, kids. But I'm like, no, you can't. But so this new edit is unbelievable, and I don't know why. And I'm listening to Rebel Force Radio trying to get more information because I'm like, who authorized this? Why did they authorize it? But essentially what happens is the scene is as it originally was. Han is in there. He draws the blaster under the table. Greedo's got the gun on him. And right before anything happens, Greedo says the word McConkey, which is not translated because everything else is translated at the bottom of the screen.
No caption.
No caption on McConkey. So this is called the McConkey edit amongst all the Star Wars podcasts, and there's a lot of discussion around it. He says McConkey, and they both shoot at the same time.
Oh, well, this is him trying to renege on his initial fucking screw-up. This is why he never touched it to begin with.
He doesn't have a say in it anymore, so why would they let him do that? And if not him, then who and why? And what the fuck does McConkey mean? Actually, I know what McConkey means.
How do you know what McConkey means?
Because there's a lot, dude. Believe me, there are Star Wars nerds at a level that we can't even compete with.
Oh, if they have the language translated.
They went back to the Phantom Menace and listened to the whole thing again. And Sebulba says McConkey to Anakin in the pod race, which means this will be the end of you. And it's translated on the screen. So essentially, Greedo says this will be the end of you. They don't fucking translate it, which is weird. He just goes, McConkey, and just catches a bolt in the chest. And it's fucking weird, dude. And you should watch it because it's really fucking weird. And I'm going, why?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at a movie, they can make 1 million edits.
But why?
And
what is it?
And if you're going to edit something, you're going to go edit something that people are already pissed that you edited to begin with?
I was happy with just make a decision. Just make a decision. So now Han shot first, Greedo shot first. Now they both shot at the same time.
You know what they did? You know why they do it?
Why?
So you and I will sit here and talk about it.
Maybe.
100%.
And I think I'm watching.
100%. If you think of the length of a movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And think of all the million edits that maybe they could have been. This one could have been a little bit shorter. This one could have been a little bit better. This one we could have got this guy's reaction. This one. Think of the 1 million different edits they could have made, right?
Yep.
So he made the Han not shoot first edit, right?
Yep.
Greedo shooting first.
Yep.
He makes that edit for some quote unquote moral reasons, though it's probably for some political correct and some financial reasons. And so he caved and said, "Oh, all right, I'll do that," and he does it. Okay, after he does that, all right, you think of how small that piece of that film that is, an important piece, but very small. Then now you're going to go and edit it for your new channel, and you go to that same fucking 10-second slice in this, how many did you say, 121 minutes? You go to the same
2 hours and 4 minutes.
You go to the same 8 to 10 seconds, and you make an edit in the same exact place where everybody is fucking had already freaked out. So you're doing it to freak us out.
And I think also they took out
can you agree with me on that?
No, I agree. You're right. And they also purposeful. They took other things out too, like a lot of that weirdness when they're pulling into Mos Eisley and there's shit moving in front of the camera stuff, where he was putting stuff in front and in behind. He was adding depth to the Mos Eisley scenes when they're in the speeder. Like
fucking
Jawa walks across the front of the screen.
Yeah, some of that's okay.
I think they took all that out. I think the Jabba the Hutt scene, I don't remember seeing the Jabba the Hutt scene that they had got put back in. That was out again. So they had done certain things to put it back the way it was. Why not just put it back to the way that it was? Because there was nothing wrong with it.
They should have just left it to hell alone.
So they put the big stuff back in at the end, which I think is important because when Luke makes that last run, one of the cool things is that with him, it's Luke and Biggs and Wedge, and they make that last run together. Wedge gets hit, and he has to pull off. He ends up being the big hero of Return of the Jedi because he's the one that blows up the second Death Star. And Biggs dies because he has to die. And he's also the person who Luke was supposed to have met on Tatooine, and he was his boyhood friend who he's the best snub pilot and blah, blah, blah. And he meets him right before they take off. And, hey, Biggs, I told you I'd get here. Good to see you, kid. And let's go. And they're back together again. And here they are on this run and going for glory. And Biggs dies. And Luke is left there on his own. And use the Force, Luke. You turned off your targeting computer. Goes in, boom. And now Luke is the hero with Han's help.
Right.
So, and that's the other piece too, is the Han edit is a little bit weird because now instead of Luke being the sole hero, because yes, he made the shot, but it doesn't make the shot without Han Solo's help. So now it's a group effort.
Yes.
Right. It lessens what he did. But.
Yeah. That is, what the hell's the word for it? It can be said that was earned by the main character. Yeah, so his interactions brought usually there's some sort of mentor that takes you part of the way, but then the character has to cross over on his own at some point, make the decision. And usually there's another character, I forget what he's called, but he's usually a trickster. If you think of Loki, or there are a lot of tricksters. Han Solo could be considered like a trickster, and that person sometimes instills something in the main character that kind of drives them. So if in his case he kind of built up that moment to that moment. I don't want to say what's the word, like almost like an emotional currency that was building up.
Because when you have a straight-laced character like Luke, you need someone who's not straight-laced to play off of, but also for him to help push Luke to grow more, right?
Right. And the other direction.
In both ways, yes. It works in both ways. That's the point and counterpoint of those characters,
Right.
But I think it's fine. The other piece that I think they were playing with in that movie that they developed and it became better in the second and the third movie, and it's why I like Empire more, is in the Death Star part of that movie where they've broken up and you have R2 and 3PO doing something, and then they cut to Luke and Leia swinging across the thing. You have those three groups in the Death Star, and then they cut to Obi-Wan shutting down the tractor beam. That whole idea of you have all this action going on at the same time, and they're transferring back and forth, and it flows really nice. Then you hit that last point, and it's all just one kind of point of view, and it kind of grinds it to a halt. In the other movies, they're always doing that. The characters are always split up, and there's always all this stuff going on at the same time, and the movies flow really well. And maybe you don't realize it, but Empire Strikes Back is longer than A New Hope, and Return is longer than Empire. Like the movies and not by much. We're talking about 4 or 5 minutes, but I feel like they go quicker. Even when I watched A New Hope this time, it goes slower, and I notice it's really fast, and then you hit that part, and that's when I go, I just feel like the pace kind of starts, and I get it. You're right. It's absolutely tension.
I just think that the first time you watched it as a kid, you didn't feel that way.
No, I didn't. But the first time I watched anything as a kid,
but I'm saying, I think you're just looking at it differently now.
But when I watched Empire the first time,
it's not a slow moment. It's a highly intense moment. I think you're just not remembering it correctly.
Maybe the intensity. Maybe the intensity wears off after you've seen the payoff.
Yeah,
I don't feel the intensity of that. But dude, every time that scene in Empire when Darth Vader is going to test the carbon freezing chamber on Han Solo, And they bring Han up there. They're torturing him. They're doing whatever they can so that Luke knows he's putting him in danger, so he'll come to Cloud City to confront Vader.
Right.
Vader has set this trap for him.
Right.
And P.S. Boba Fett sucks because he's this great bounty hunter. Meanwhile, he didn't even catch Han Solo, nor did he actually fucking freeze Han Solo. He just happens to benefit from the fact that Darth Vader, I don't know, he followed him and told Vader he was coming, I guess. That's all Boba Fett does in Empire Strikes Back, which kind of sucks because he always looked like a cool character. He never really does anything super cool.
No way. I think you got Boba Fett completely wrong, dude.
What does he do that's super cool in any of the movies of the original series?
He's how Han Solo gets caught on Cloud City.
No, he's not, though.
Yes, he is.
Darth Vader catches Han Solo.
What are you talking about?
Dude.
Darth
Vader knows where he's going because of Boba Fett, but Boba Fett does not catch Han Solo. Do you remember how that goes down?
In Cloud City when he comes to the dinner and Darth Vader's there?
Yeah. Boba Fett. And Boba Fett's standing behind Darth Vader. Like, my daddy's going to get you.
No, he brought him there.
No.
Yes. Are you serious?
There's the asteroid field.
Darth Vader is searching for Han Solo.
Yes.
Across the entire
He's chasing
galaxy.
him across the asteroid field.
Yeah, and he's searching
Han
from
escapes
high and low.
Because he outsmarts him.
Right, but he doesn't outsmart Boba Fett.
But he doesn't outsmart Boba Fett.
So he
and
thinks
all Boba
he can
Fett
hang out with the garbage and float away with the garbage.
And Boba Fett knows what he's going to do.
Right, and he follows his ass.
That's the best thing Boba Fett does in the whole movie. Everything else, he's a buffoon and a standby guy, which really sucks because he looks cool, but he never does anything cool.
Well, no, what would you want him to do?
Like a cool fight. Like Jango Fett has a better fight against Obi-Wan in the prequel trilogy than anything Boba Fett does. Because the minute Boba Fett starts fighting in Return of the Jedi, the next thing you know, his jetpack goes off and he fucking falls in the Sarlacc like an asshole.
Yeah, but again, it's the not anticipation, but the you kind of look at Luke as a Jedi, like he did nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like really, we never. If you think about it, if you watch the first prequel. The first three movies, or 4, 5, and 6, you don't, not the prequel, the original trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see a Jedi, really, almost in the whole movie. You see Obi-Wan.
No, that was what the great thing about the prequels is you got to see Jedi, really powerful Jedi, doing really powerful Jedi.
Right. Right. I mean, when Phantom Menace opened up, I mean, I was...
Yeah, no, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon on the ship.
Come on, when they're going through those robots and they're slicing through.
And P.S. That's why they made the robots.
Right, and he sticks the lightsaber in that huge vault door, and he's getting it open, and you're like seeing how powerful a lightsaber really is.
It only gets better and
how powerful
better.
Jedi even really is.
And the lightsaber duel at the end of Revenge of the Sith is unbelievable.
Right, unbelievable.
It goes on and on and on. It's one of the longest fights, I think, ever filmed.
In any of the Star Wars.
In any of them, yeah.
For sure.
Compared to the little fights that we get in Empire and Return.
Right.
But, I mean, and part of that, I think, was nice was that Luke's greatest exploits were in your mind.
Right. Same thing with Boba Fett. Boba Fett, you had the allure of what this guy was. Like, who would think that Han Solo, that of that trick, that garbage, like he was on that same wavelength. As good as Han Solo was, he was as good. He was matching Han Solo on a mental level.
Darth Vader, and he said, Darth Vader, he's going to Cloud City.
Well, that's what Darth Vader wanted. That was the bounty.
Went ahead to Cloud City.
That was the bounty.
Well, I guess he used his special
I want him dead or
set.
alive. He's more valuable to me alive. Okay, Vader, you were looking for the guy? I got him. He's right here. Come to Cloud City. Yeah. And he just...
Yeah, he just called the Empire there, and he's like, "You guys capture him, and then I'm going to get a bounty from you."
He never did catch him. He delivered him into the fucking dining room.
No, Lando delivered him into the dining room. Lando was compromised because Darth Vader and a bunch of fucking stormtroopers rolled up on him.
Right,
only because Boba Fett was like, "Hey, Darth, that's all he did was, hey, Darth, this is where he's going."
Right, I don't know.
Fucking easy work, dude.
Cool. It was a cool outfit
for all the outfit. I wanted to see him.
He was a cool outfit, and out of everybody who's been chasing him everywhere. For the entire
look,
for who we don't know how long, when it's insinuated right into the beginning from Greedo that it's been a pretty goddamn long time.
Yeah. It's been a while,
yeah. So for him to be the one who finally catches up with him and catches with you figure he's got to be something.
And Boba Fett's reputation was he's the greatest bounty hunter in the galaxy.
He is.
But you don't.
I mean, Vader couldn't catch him.
You see Luke do more as a Jedi. 150 times more.
Oh no, Boba Fett doesn't do anything.
He doesn't do anything cool.
I mean, in Return of the Jedi,
he does two things and he falls in the fucking hole.
And he falls in the hole.
That's it.
Yeah.
No, that's one thing that I think I like about The Mandalorian is it's not Boba Fett, but I get to see somebody in a suit of armor who's a bounty hunter do cool bounty hunter shit.
Right.
Right. That's what I wanted to see. Right. That's like, I want to see Anakin Skywalker do cool Jedi shit before he becomes the Sith Lord. We got to see that. I'm cool with that.
All right, give me. So, what are the times of
let's
go.
So let's talk about the trench run.
The trench run.
The trench run starts
runtime versus the runtime for the asteroid belt chase.
Okay.
Scene.
So after the 6 minutes of landing gear and cockpits and helmets and all that shit,
all very common. Did you ever watch Top Gun? By the way,
yeah, it's
all right. There's
Top
fucking
Gun,
probably 45 minutes of that stuff.
I would say Top Gun is all style and no substance, but I do like the movie. So X-Wings off the ground for the bombing run at 1 hour, 44 minutes, and 45 seconds. Okay. Locking S-foils in attack position about a minute later. Enemy fighters inbound at 1:48. Wedge rescues Luke.
No, wait, time out.
At 1:49.
Wait.
I got the full run time. No, I got the full run time.
I don't want the full run time. I do want the full run time. But when they were cutting back and forth.
There's no cut. No. So here's what I did.
They were cutting back and forth. This wasn't sitting.
Here's what I did.
You're going from the beginning of from when they're lifting off the ground. You said the trench run. I'm talking about the trench run.
Well, there's two parts because first they attack the Death Star and then a small group breaks off for the trench run. But
there's two fights going on.
But still, you stay with that team the entire time. The entire time you're with Red Squadron and Gold Squadron from the time they lift off to the end of it, where most of them are wiped out.
And the command center.
You go back to the command center, but they're talking to. It's all a part of that same narrative. Right. It's not a different. They're talking back to the cockpit, so it's all a part of the trench run.
Okay, so from when they lift the ground.
Off the ground.
So then when I gotta see when you counted the asteroid scene then.
From the asteroid scene is different though because you know what they do. You know what happens in the middle of the asteroid scene?
They land on an asteroid.
But then they go back to Dagobah. And then you have Luke training with Yoda, and then they go back to the asteroid, and then they go back to Dagobah, and then they go back to the asteroid.
Yeah,
that's all happening at the same time, but that's two different planets. That's two different places. If they're on the command center with Darth Vader, I kept the count.
And they're not interacting with each other.
They're not interacting with each other.
Right.
I was very fair.
And because you subtract that time.
Yes.
You could subtract that time.
I did. No, I did. And I was very fair. And when you get to the answer to this, it's going to be funny when you get the best punchline of this, which is funny. Okay. But it also led me to my realization as to why I feel differently about it.
Okay.
So anyways, you got Wedge rescues Luke. That's about 5 minutes into it, right? He's on my tail. Wedge flies in and rescues. Gold Leader's attack run, where the whole gold team gets wiped out. 1 minute and 1 hour, 49 minutes, 34 seconds. Darth Vader in the air, 1 minute, 49 seconds. Gold Leader down, 1 minute, 50 seconds. That's Darth Vader already, right? A fucking less than a minute, he's already shot down the whole fucking gold team. Stay on target, 1 minute and 50 seconds. I just thought that was funny because these are things I always have in my head because they're notorious pieces of this trench.
Right.
Red Leader's attack run, 1 hour and 51 minutes. That's P.S. Red Leader with Porkins. Almost there, 1 minute and 52 seconds. Red Leader takes his shot, 1 hour, 52 minutes and 48 seconds. Negative. It didn't go in. It just impacted on the surface. 1 hour, 52 minutes and 46 seconds. Red Leader down, 1 hour and 53 minutes and 23 seconds. Luke, Biggs, and Wedge's attack run, 1 hour and 53 minutes. So this is actually only 10 minutes after off the ground they're making their attack run, and this is the one that does it. Wedge's hit at 1 hour, 54 minutes and 41 seconds. Biggs down 1 hour, 55 minutes and 9 seconds. Switches off, use the Force, Luke. 1 hour, 55 minutes and 41 seconds. Switches off his targeting computer. 1 hour and 56 minutes and 4 seconds. Now, meanwhile, that's about a minute after it's used the Force, Luke, but he's sitting there for a while.
Well, yeah, he's contemplating.
R2 gets...
That's one of the thresholds.
No, you're right. And
that's one of the thresholds he crosses.
And R2 gets hit at 1 minute and 56 seconds and 6. That's 10 seconds after he switches off his computer. R2 gets hit, right?
Right.
You may fire when ready. That's Moff Tarkin saying, blow fucking Yavin 4 out of the fucking sky. You're fucked. We are. And here's another thing I like about this that is nice when you think about it. This attack run, from the minute the Death Star is moving into position, this whole thing is in real time. Well, as I count this out,
this is what I'm saying. I don't understand what you don't.
It's amazing. It's amazing
because even,
but it's also tough.
The whole time the Death Star's charging up to fire.
It fucks with the pace of it because it's in real time. Is it good? Yes. Is it realistic? Yes. Is it tension filled? Yes. But few things that any other movie in an action movie, the timer on a bomb that's 6 seconds, it's like 4 minutes. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like there's all this license, and this is legitimately. I'm sitting there going, holy shit! From the time when they're showing the Death Star getting ready. This thing is in fucking real time. It's in real time. Wedge hit. Biggs down 155. Sorry. You may fire when ready. Yahoo, kid. 1 hour, 56 minutes, and 51 seconds. You're all clear. Now let's blow this thing and go home. 1 hour and 57 minutes and 3 seconds. Boom. 1 hour, 57 minutes, and 17 seconds.
So how long is that? 157?
Total runtime of the trench run, 14 minutes and 32 seconds.
14 minutes. Okay.
Yeah. And I have a special note here. 1 hour, 59 minutes, and 52 seconds. Chewie does not get a medal. Which is fucked up, too. And it always bothered me as a kid. Because I always knew Chewie was the one that talked Han into it. So now we're going to go back to the asteroid field. But now I don't have as many interesting little pieces in there as that. But at the end of the day, after I did all the math, so we noted 14 minutes and 32 seconds is the trench run.
Right.
The asteroid field chase, including all the hiding, inside the mouth of the monster and all that shit. 14 minutes and 36 seconds.
What?
It's actually 4 seconds longer. But they're pretty much exactly the same length.
We argued about some two things that are the same length.
But dude, it really made me think about it, though. I mean, you listen to what I'm saying, and it made me think and realize these things. I don't think I ever realized that attack run is in real time, and it's why it kind of felt that way for me. Did you get
a little appreciation?
So I certainly do have. No, okay. Look. Let's just be clear. I love the movie. It's my second favorite Star Wars movie.
God.
Okay, but. I just like the pacing. I prefer things that are less linear. Yeah, no, dude, I'm sitting there with Lucas and I'm laughing. He's like, "What's funny, Dad?" I said, and I told him, and he was like, "You guys are messed up." He goes, "I can't believe you're doing this." But I'm like literally pausing. Hold on, guys, and then I'm checking to make sure that it's not like a different cut of the movie. And I'm like, "No, dude, it's about the same length." It's exactly the same, which is pretty funny. But that's
great.
It made me realize some things. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of underwhelmed by Return of the Jedi. Yeah. I think it's good.
I think it kind of let down everybody a little bit.
There's a lot. It's the Ewoks. It's the Muppets. I think some of the practical effects, they started to use more computer stuff. So it started to lose that. And I think Return of the Jedi holds up the worst of the three. And I know that's stupid to say because A New Hope was made in 76. Probably, but I think because
they tried to do too much in Jedi.
And they also were doing stuff with very early computer stuff. And I think they were sprinkling it in and it just didn't work as well. And they were also constantly getting bigger and bigger, right? There was more puppets and more aliens and more monsters. But at the end of the day,
sell them Kenner toys.
Well, and that's a whole other thing we could talk about. That those toys were a huge part. I remember owning every single one of them. I always loved it. I was showing the boys all the different play sets I used to have. I go, they had the Tauntaun. I go, and the original Tauntaun didn't open up. I go, but then they made a Tauntaun where you could split it open and put Luke inside of it. Like, they're like, oh, well, why? I'm like, it's just kind of cool. You want to act out the whole movie. Yep. Before we used to have to stick them in the top of the Tauntaun and it didn't look the same. It's like he was riding it. And he was like, oh yeah, that's cool. So I was showing him on eBay here's the AT-AT. He's like, oh my God. He goes, look how big that thing is. And Lucas actually, when we went to Comic-Con, Lucas signed, somebody had an AT-AT that he was having people sign. And Lucas was dressed as a Winter Soldier when he was probably about 6. Mm-hmm. And people loved him as a Winter Soldier. There was a female Captain America that was taking a million pictures with him. And then this guy's like, you got to sign my thing. They just loved that he was kind of cosplaying. And he was like, Dad, is it okay? I'm like, the guy says right on his stuff. So he signed, it was a full size of the old AT-ATs I never had it when I was a kid. I was never that fortunate.
Yeah, that's an expensive toy.
But you're right. The toys were a big part of it too. And the merchandising and reenacting, and I showed them how lame the lightsabers were, and the character had the little lightsaber that came up in the capes that looked stupid, the little plastic capes, and but that's the exciting thing. And I think about Star Wars in my life is it was a huge part of my childhood, and then I remember I met Natalie and I and even my father saw the prequel movies together, all 3 of them. And I remember thinking, well, I had watched the original movies with my dad, and it was just cool that I had this. And then the sequel trilogy came out, and I was like, and now I brought Lucas to it, and I bring Dean to it, and I go, I have these moments with my kids now, and I even bring them back. We went and saw Star Wars in concert, and they're like, "Dad, how many times can we watch this movie?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I could watch Empire Strikes Back 1,000,000 times because I love it." And back to that.
Empire Strikes Back is fun to watch, but I don't think it's a better movie than A New Hope.
Dude, that scene
only because it's not that it's a bad
I wouldn't
movie. It's that it's not a movie. It's that it's not a movie. There's stuff that happens, important stuff, a lot of revelations, a lot of exposition, but there's no story.
But it's the best part of the exposition. It's all the best stuff because
there's lots. I said there's a lot of cool stuff. That's why it's a good movie. If there was none of that cool stuff, it would be the worst movie of all time.
You want to talk about dramatic tension, and it's also I was thinking about it too.
There's drama to it.
That scene with the carbon freezing chamber is so fucking dynamic. It's so fucking tense. It's so fucking funny and romantic. And you have John Williams through this thing, and that is the masterpiece of the whole first trilogy from a score perspective.
Well, most of it is John Williams has a lot to do with Star Wars.
No, you're right. Because try to watch that.
He should have half of George Lucas's money.
Oh no, he's amazing, and he's an artist on a whole different level too. And it's the combination of the two that makes it so great too. Because without that score.
Yeah, no. Honestly, it's a different. You would look
totally
at
different movie.
You can make that movie comical if you wanted to put their own music.
You're right.
On it.
Dun 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 dun.
It would be hilarious.
But I think the score in the first movie is very good. I think the Binary Sun score of Tatooine is an amazing piece to listen to.
Absolutely.
But there are other parts of it where it's just kind of like very thematic. I think John Williams hits his stride in the second movie, and there's these themes for characters, and you have the princess's theme with Han Solo, and that's swelling in that dun 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 dun. Dun. I mean, it's dude, it's a fucking opera. It's operatic. It's huge.
Yeah, well, it's a symphony. But and that I like. That's one of my favorite pieces of all the Star Wars themes, and that one is pretty prominent.
Yeah,
I've heard it in every movie since Strikes Back.
Yeah.
At least once. I mean, in Return of the Jedi, you hear it maybe one or two more times. But then in the prequels, you hear it. And then even now you hear it. Like in the last movie, they play like a bar of it or 2 bars of the
that's
piece.
Where he sprinkles
when she's floating in space, I think they play it.
He sprinkles that in, and even you realize the Millennium Falcon has its own fucking song. And that was the cool thing about Solo too. Like I told you, is I listened to Rebel Force Radio, and they talk about the score, just episodes just talking about scores of movies. These guys go so deep, it's unbelievable. And then you listen to them talking, going, "Wow, I never fucking thought about that." But in Solo, they kind of split that Millennium Falcon's theme up. So Chewie had a theme and Han had a theme, and then the minute the two of them get in the cockpit together, these two themes come together, and you're like, holy fucking shit, that's the fucking Millennium Falcon. It gave me goosebumps when I heard it in the movie theater. I was like, oh my God, that's the fucking song, and they're together. This is the moment that we've been waiting to see.
He's a genius.
And yeah, it's a whole, and then Harry Potter, you talk about what Williams has done, so, and lended his genius to make better. Harry Potter, Jaws, I think, was John Williams. Some of the greatest movies ever.
Yeah.
So you know, I mean, I don't know. The movies are dear to me. My boss, who I've worked for 20 years, he just marvels it. He'll come to the table, and I'll be with a different group of people having all these conversations and talking, and he goes, "Holy shit, dude, are you still talking about Star Wars?" He goes, "You've been talking about Star Wars for 19 years. I said, "Dude, I've been talking about Star Wars a lot longer than 19 years. He goes, "How can you have that much to say about
I don't know what it is.
26 hours of movies?" I go, "Dude, but it's more than that, and it's the pieces in between. It's that world being what it is."
They gave us a lot to argue about, I guess, too.
Yeah.
But it's
So I don't know.
I was gonna get into
the hero's journey.
I'm not gonna get into the hero's journey, but
that looks like the Death Star.
It was completely, and Lucas admitted it. From he almost copied it to the letter from Joseph Campbell.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
which was then covered by Christopher Vogler in The Writer's Journey, and he was Joseph Campbell was a philosopher, and he pretty much copied it. But the thing is that every good story you've heard copies it, and they don't copy it maybe even necessarily on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that if you go and look at the story and you read any good story or listen to most stories, I've found that stories where I think didn't fit this, but I liked, I would go back because I try and disprove it.
Yeah.
Because how could it be one story? That's because it's essentially what it's saying, right? Like a monomyth.
I think the thing that happens, and I was thinking about this too, because I know you're heavy on that whole
I find it interesting.
And you're right. I believe that if you go back to most stories, you can tie almost every story back to something that Shakespeare wrote. Or
he followed that same thing and followed mythological stories from even prior to that.
No, and they go it goes back
stories of the gods and the Vikings and Norse mythology.
But some of the movies that really turn my brain on are the movies where it's not saying that it doesn't follow that, but the actual exposition is non-linear. Why do I like? What was one?
It doesn't have to be in order.
But I think what's interesting about Pulp Fiction, because we talked about Pulp Fiction tonight for a couple of reasons, but not on the show, but just it's another movie I talk about constantly too. But I like that it's not linear. You watch it and you go, wow, these guys are interesting. What the fuck is going on? And you're like, okay, I'm okay with that. You ever see the movie Memento? You ever see that movie Memento?
No.
Holy shit. It starts at the end of the movie. It starts at the end and then it goes backwards. And the guy can only remember so much before he forgets everything. So he's literally trying to solve a murder and he's putting tattoos all over his body so that when he gets his memory back, he can relearn where he's been in finding the murder case. But the whole thing is told from the end to the beginning.
Huh.
But that's what turns my mind on is give me something different because I don't want it to be predictable. I need it to be, look, I'm not like saying I just watched a lot of movies. I watched a lot of TV. I want you to challenge me. I'm okay. Take me for a ride. Do something different. Own it though. I think that's a lot of what we talked about today is own your decisions. It's okay, man. Yeah, don't second guess yourself and don't let anybody else second guess you.
Edits have got to go.
No, it's got to stop.
I mean, there's an original somewhere.
Yeah. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Oh.
Right?
With great power comes great
responsibility. That's what Uncle Ben said.
Yeah. I mean, it's...
who fucking told Uncle Ben that he would be able to tell Spider-Man?
I feel like we've talked more about Star Wars on non-Star Wars episodes.
Maybe. I think we'll still brand this the Star Wars episode. Maybe this will put the conversation to bed for at least the original series.
Wait, is it... Well, what's the... I don't know.
No?
Well, you're in agreement that until you agree that A New Hope is better than Empire Strikes Back.
You're not going to ever get me to agree. No. Let's rank. Here we go. Let's do this. Rank Star Wars movies in order that you like them.
Oh shit.
What's your number one? So A New Hope. What's number two?
All Star Wars movies?
Let's go all.
Okay. Ooh, all right.
Wait. Let's do this. First, start original trilogy. So it's A New Hope, and then what's your second one? It's obviously Empire, and then Return.
Probably, yeah.
Don't say Return second just because you want to piss me off.
No, I can't.
Okay, good. I know. Because it's fucking Ewoks. I mean, I think I get the idea of this primitive society overturning this advanced society. Like, okay, great, but you want to talk about on the nose? It's fucking cram it down my throat. I get it. Yeah. They're using spears and they're using guns, and somehow they get overcome because they.
That was a marketing decision.
So I would say, so that's the original. I would say Empire and then A New Hope and then Return. I think we agree. We just have those two.
The first two flip then.
Now, if we extend it out, is there something that you would put second before Empire?
I might put Rogue One at Empire for sure.
I like Rogue One a lot too. You talk about a military. It's really a good movie. Yeah. Yeah, I might put Rogue One as my number 3. I think I would stay Empire, A New Hope, and then Rogue One.
Yeah, I think you're crazy.
You think Rogue One is better than Empire?
Yes.
You're crazy. I think you're crazy.
No.
Rogue One is very good, but I don't know.
A lot of people I'm just mean that
I would have to see.
I know a lot of people that think I'm freaking nuts. That you're not alone.
No, it's just
perspective.
We're splitting hairs here.
Not that they don't. Other people don't like Rogue One. Everybody seems to like Rogue One.
So you're going to say New Hope.
I know a lot of people love Empire Strikes Back, and I love watching it.
Mm-hmm.
But I just feel like it's not a full movie.
But dude, I've watched Empire, and it's not like I feel compelled to watch Return of the Jedi. Like I'm okay leaving it there. I'm in agreement with
Return of the Jedi, but
like I've watched Return of the Jedi probably the least of all of that.
Rogue One was fucking good.
No,
Rogue One was not that. Again, Rogue One wasn't. There wasn't a lot of It was slow too compared to Empire Strikes. Empire Strikes Back. The reason everybody likes it, I think, is because it's full of action from the beginning.
No, it moves very
to the
quickly.
end.
Yes.
It's an action movie.
The movie has a great pace to it.
Rogue One is a military movie.
I think Rogue One moves pretty. I think Rogue One moves pretty well too.
It moves pretty well, but not like Empire Strikes Back.
No, that's like I said.
I mean, the whole thing with the father and the chasing the little girl and who his father becomes. And,
so you're saying New Hope, Rogue One, Empire.
So far.
And then what would be 4?
After Empire?
Any of the prequels?
I don't know.
I
almost put Solo at 4.
Really? Oh, I like Solo too because it's kind of like a caper film. I would look at it like a space Reservoir Dogs or something. Like I really enjoy it. It's good too. I don't think I'd put it 4. I might put Revenge of the Sith 4.
I would put that maybe about 5.
But I still
didn't buy him turning like that. I mean, I had to make up the excuse that Palpatine just had this power over him, but then they should have illustrated it better. Yeah, they showed him manipulating him, and we got things manipulating him.
No,
but manipulating someone to murder children, takes a little bit more.
I think we should talk about the original.
Making him envious about his position in the council, or if he had some sort of mind hold on him, which is the only thing I could think of that broke him, that's acceptable.
Yeah.
Then they should have shown that. They should have shown that hold on.
There's a lot I can get into, and it goes into that whole thing like we did with The Boys, where I said, well, if you read the comic and you're like, oh, I got to read a fucking comic to watch it.
Well, yeah, and that's my problem with some of the Star Wars too, is that a lot of the canon is like you have to, in order to get some of the movies, you have to read the books. Like the First Order. Who's the First Order?
Well, they don't.
Like they don't really go over that.
So I'm trying to finish. You want to talk about suffering through? Trying to finish the Chuck Wendig books, which are supposed to be what happens between Return and Force Awakens, and it gets into some of that First Order stuff. It gets into why all the ships are crashed on Jakku,
right.
But I'm kind of stuck in book 3, and I put it away for a while, and I've been trying to finish it for the better part of like 3 months just to get it done. But anyways, I think we can talk about that prequel trilogy too, because I think there's a lot of interesting things, and we haven't even talked about prophecy and midichlorians and the Anakin character, and so I think there's shit that we can harp on there. I think we're building to.
We should wait for Rise.
Well, Rise of Skywalker. We'll
do a show right after that.
We'll do the sequel trilogy.
So maybe the next
Rise.
one will be. Maybe this is Star Wars Part 1.
This is
Star Wars Part 2 will be after Rise.
No, I think we have to do it before and then do.
We can't. We won't have time.
We do the prequel trilogies, not the sequels. We do the prequels. We do Phantom Menace, Clone Wars, and Revenge of the Sith.
No. Like so, I'm saying is we have a show coming out Monday.
Yep.
Then a week, and then
let's just record it tomorrow. You want to just do it? Let's record it right after this. We'll just do another 2 hours.
The week that there's nothing, and then there's the role playing game show that we recorded today,
yep.
And then a week of nothing, then the show.
Yep.
And to the end of the year, Rise is out
December
theaters at that point.
I know.
So my point is, the next time we get together, we talk Star Wars again. But now with the added knowledge, we don't have to make it the Rise of Skywalker talk, but we'll put the shows back to back. Star Wars Part 1, so you can listen to Part 1 before Rise comes out.
Yep.
And then you can listen to Part 2 after Rise comes out.
And we'll encompass the prequels and the sequels outside of the original.
And we'll talk about the rest. We did not touch the midichlorians. We did not touch. No. We didn't touch
the prophecy, which, dude, the prophecy is a whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, Palpatine and what Lucas was thinking, I think, and we've already talked for, this will be our 4th hour of sitting in your basement talking. I already didn't have a voice when I came into it.
I know. I have to pee a third time for
the
show.
And I sound like Barry White. You'll never find a bladder as small as mine.
On that note,
all right. Well, that's a Star Wars show.
That's the Star Wars show, exactly.
Part 1.
Part 1. Tune in next time for Part 2 after Rise.
And remember, we always talk about Star Wars.
That's right. Anyway, doomsdaydoopydoo.com and doomsdaydoopy@gmail.com. Yep. And don't forget to tell a friend, leave a review.
And like us, but leave a bad review, or don't like us and leave a good review.
Later.
Don't do nothing. May the wasabi peas be with you. Always.